The desert wind kicked up tiny dust devils around Junho's boots as he stared at the horizon. His family's service station had been a quiet landmark in this forgotten corner of New Mexico for generations, just another roadside stop where truckers and occasional travelers would fill up their tanks and grab a quick bite. Nobody expected anything extraordinary to happen that scorching summer day. The station was nothing special. A small convenience store, 2 fuel pumps, and a modest repair garage that his father had maintained for decades. Junho had grown up learning every inch of this place, knowing each tool's location and every quirk of the ancient machinery. His grandfather had bought this land when most people thought it was worthless. "Location matters," he would always say, pointing to the vast open landscape. Little did anyone know how prophetic those words would become. Junho was working on an old truck's transmission when the first unusual signal came through. The radio crackled with something that definitely wasn't a standard terrestrial frequency. At first he thought it was interference, maybe military tests from the nearby bases, but the pattern was different, almost deliberate. The sound was musical yet mechanical, a language of frequencies that seemed to dance between communication and pure energy. Junho's hands froze mid-wrench, the metal tool suspended in mid-air as he listened intently. His sister Yuna, who was restocking snacks in the convenience store, noticed his sudden stillness. "Something wrong?" she called out. Before Junho could answer, a massive shadow swept across the ground. It wasn't like any aircraft he had ever seen. No wings, no typical propulsion system. Just a smooth, almost liquid-like metal shape that seemed to bend light around itself. Years of working in a remote service station had taught Junho to stay calm. Mechanics learn quickly that panic helps nobody, especially when something needs fixing. He watched as the craft, if you could call it that, began to descend. The landing was impossibly smooth. No dust kicked up, no loud engine roar. Just a gentle arrival that seemed to defy everything Junho understood about physics and technology. Yuna had stepped outside by now, standing next to her brother with a mixture of curiosity and professional calm. Their father had always prepared them for unexpected situations. "Always be ready," he would say. A good mechanic isn't just someone who fixes machines, they're problem solvers, diplomats, and quick thinkers. As the craft's surface began to shift and change, revealing what seemed like an entrance, Junho felt a strange mixture of excitement and professional challenge. This wasn't just another repair job. This was something entirely different. The first figures that emerged were unlike anything they had seen before. Tall, with movements that seemed to flow rather than walk. They carried an aura of advanced intelligence. But what struck Junho most was not their alien appearance but the universal look of exhaustion, something he recognized from countless truckers who had stopped at their station over the years. Travelers were travelers, whether they came from the next state or another star system. Yuna was the first to step forward, her mechanic's instincts kicking in. "Looks like someone needs a refuel," she muttered, grabbing her toolkit and approaching the craft with a professional's confidence. Junho couldn't help but smile. This was going to be interesting. Little did they know that this moment would mark the beginning of something that would change not just their lives, but humanity's entire understanding of its place in the universe. A simple desert service station would become the first true interstellar rest stop, a beacon of human hospitality and technical skill. Just another day at the Park family business. The silence was thick with anticipation. Junho and Yuna stood their ground, watching as the alien travelers approached. Their movements were fluid, almost like water flowing across the desert ground. No threatening gestures, just a sense of profound weariness that transcended any differences between species. Yuna's hands instinctively tightened around her toolkit. Years of working with temperamental truck engines had taught her that first impressions matter. Whether you're dealing with a stubborn diesel engine or unexpected visitors from another world. "Hey," she called out, her voice steady and professional. "Looks like you could use some help." The lead traveler tilted its head, a gesture so surprisingly human that Junho almost laughed. Communication seemed impossible, yet somehow, understanding began to take shape. Their technology was advanced, but their body language spoke a universal language of exhaustion and need. The craft behind them told a story of a long, difficult journey. Scorch marks traced intricate patterns across its surface, and parts of its hull showed signs of multiple repairs. These weren't conquerors or tourists. These were travelers who had been through something. Junho remembered his father's old stories about helping stranded motorists in the middle of nowhere. Sometimes, his dad would say, being human is about more than just fixing machines. It's about showing kindness when someone needs it most. Yuna grabbed a water cooler from the station's store, a simple gesture that would become legendary in the years to come. She approached the lead traveler and held out a large container of water. No words, just a universal offer of help. The response was unexpected. The traveler's external membrane, something between skin and technology, changed colors. Blues and greens rippled across its surface, a communication method that seemed to blend emotion and visual language. Junho's repair experience kicked in. He recognized the signs of system stress, not just mechanical, but something deeper. These travelers needed more than just fuel. They needed a moment of safety, of rest. "We've got a workshop," he said, pointing to the garage. "Looks like your ship could use some work." Remarkably, they understood, not through words, but through a shared language of intention and need. The universal signs of mechanical distress are the same whether you're dealing with a breakdown on Route 66 or a spacecraft from another star system. Their repair tools seemed almost magical, liquid metals that could reshape themselves, diagnostic systems that worked faster than anything Junho had ever seen. But at the core of it all was something fundamental, the desire to keep moving, to continue the journey. Yuna started mapping out the repair process. Her notebook, an old-school paper version she preferred over digital systems, quickly filled with sketches and technical notes. She was translating their advanced technology into something she could understand, breaking down complex systems into manageable parts. The convenience store became an impromptu meeting point. Junho brought out snacks, simple things like energy, bars and bottled water. The travelers examined each item with curiosity, turning simple human provisions into objects of fascination. By sunset, something remarkable had happened. What started as a potentially tense encounter had transformed into a collaborative repair session. The Park Family Service Station, a small, unremarkable stop in the middle of the New Mexico desert, had become something more. This wasn't just a fuel stop anymore. This was a bridge between worlds. As darkness fell and the repair work continued, Junho looked at his sister. No words were needed. They both knew they were part of something bigger than themselves. A moment that would change everything. Just another day at the family business. The garage had transformed overnight. What was once a simple desert repair shop now looked like something between a high-tech laboratory and a mechanic's dream workspace. Junho and Yuna worked side by side, their hands moving with a rhythm that blended human intuition with newfound technological understanding. Their alien visitors watched, sometimes offering subtle guidance through color-changing membranes and intricate hand movements. It wasn't a traditional tutorial, more like a dance of technological exchange that transcended spoken language. Junho's old toolbox, a gift from his grandfather, sat next to devices that looked like they belonged in a science fiction movie. Liquid metal components flowed like mercury, reshaping themselves to solve complex mechanical challenges. But at the heart of every repair was something uniquely human, problem-solving creativity. "See this?" Yuna would point out, showing her brother how a seemingly impossible connection could work. Their visitors seemed just as fascinated by human improvisation as the parks were by alien technology. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. An old transmission jack, something Junho's father had used for decades, became the key to solving a critical power transfer issue in the alien craft's propulsion system. Where advanced alien technology saw complexity, Junho saw a simple mechanical solution. "Sometimes," he muttered, "the simplest approach works best." The visitors began to understand something profound about human innovation. It wasn't about having the most advanced technology, but about creative thinking and adaptability. Their repair techniques had always been about making something work, with whatever was available, a skill perfected by generations of mechanics working in remote locations. Yuna's notebook became a bridge between two technological worlds. Sketches showed how human mechanical principles could be adapted to alien systems. She drew connections between diesel engine repairs and spacecraft propulsion, finding unexpected similarities that no computer could have predicted. Their father's old workshop philosophy echoed through every repair. A good mechanic doesn't just fix what's broken. They understand why it broke and prevent it from happening again. The alien craft's energy systems fascinated them most. What looked like impossible technology to an outsider became a puzzle to be solved through patience and observation. Junho noticed patterns, rhythms in energy flow that reminded him of how water moves through pipes or how electricity travels through circuits. By midday, something remarkable had happened. The repair wasn't just a fix, it was a collaborative creation. Parts of the alien craft now contained elements of human innovation, while their tools incorporated hints of advanced alien technology. Their visitors communicated their appreciation through a light show that transformed the entire garage. Blues, greens, and silvers danced across surfaces, creating a visual language of gratitude and respect. Yuna found herself laughing. "Who would have thought," she said to her brother, "that our little desert service station would become something like this?" Junho just smiled. This was more than a repair job. This was a moment of first contact, of understanding between two completely different civilizations. The local radio crackled with background noise. Outside, the New Mexico desert continued its timeless existence, completely unaware that something extraordinary was happening inside this small garage. As the day wore on, Junho realized they were doing more than just fixing a spacecraft. They were writing a new chapter in human history, one repair at a time. Just another day at the family business. The convenience store had never seen anything like this before. What was once a simple roadside stop now buzzed with an energy that defied explanation. Yuna stood behind the counter, her world transforming with each passing moment. Their alien visitors seemed just as curious about human culture as the parks were about their technology. The small refrigerator became a gateway to cultural understanding. Yuna pulled out simple items, a bottle of local soda, some packaged sandwiches, a bag of chips, each becoming an object of intense fascination. The first taste test was awkward and hilarious. One of the visitors carefully examined a bag of spicy corn chips, its membrane-like skin changing colors with each movement. Junho watched, trying hard not to laugh as the alien carefully touched the chip, then tentatively brought it closer. The reaction was unexpected. A burst of color erupted across the visitor's surface, blues, yellows, and what seemed like waves of pure joy. Apparently, human snack food was a universal language. Junho's father had always said that food brings people together. He never imagined people would include beings from other star systems. The store's old radio played softly in the background. Classic rock mixed with the subtle hum of alien communication. An old Johnny Cash song played, "I've Been Everywhere," which seemed hilariously appropriate given the current situation. Cultural exchange happened in the most unexpected ways. The visitors showed interest in everything: old photographs on the wall, a vintage map of New Mexico, even the small collection of trucker caps hanging by the door. Each item became a story, a window into human existence. Yuna began pulling out family albums. Her grandfather's old photographs told stories of hard work, of a family that had survived in this harsh desert landscape for generations. The visitors studied each image with an intensity that felt like deep respect. "Look," Junho pointed to an old photo of their grandparents' first service station. "This is where it all began." The communication wasn't about words. It was about sharing moments, experiences, the simple joy of understanding something new. Their visitors seemed to appreciate the imperfections, the humanity of it all. The small dining area became a meeting point of worlds. Junho brought out his mother's special recipes, simple desert cooking that had been passed down through generations. Homemade chili, fresh bread, something that tasted like hope and home. To their surprise, the visitors could consume some of the food. Not through a mouth, their biology was far too complex for that, but through a fascinating absorption process that seemed to blend eating with understanding. Each bite seemed to tell a story. The spices spoke of family gatherings, of hard work, of survival in a challenging landscape. Their visitors weren't just tasting food, they were experiencing human history. The day stretched on, and the small service station became something more than a repair shop or a fuel stop. It became a point of first contact, a place where two completely different worlds found common ground. Outside, the New Mexico desert continued its timeless existence. Tumbleweeds rolled past. The sun beat down on the empty highway. Inside, something magical was happening. Jun-ho looked at his sister. No words were needed. They both understood they were part of something much bigger than themselves. Just another day at the family business. The universe, it seemed, was smaller and more wonderful than anyone had ever imagined. 15 years had passed since that first, unexpected encounter. The small desert service station was now something entirely different, a hub of interstellar connection that nobody could have predicted. Jun-ho stood outside, watching a line of spacecraft that stretched beyond the horizon. What had started as a single repair had transformed into a galactic network of service points. Their family's simple approach to problem-solving had become the gold standard for interstellar travel. The original visitors had become more than just customers. They were ambassadors, friends, extended family in a way that defied traditional understanding. Each spacecraft that landed carried stories of the Park family's reputation, a place of genuine help, of understanding, of true human connection. Yuna managed the technical operations now, her notebook of early sketches preserved like a sacred text. Young mechanics from across the planet, and now from multiple star systems, came to learn the unique blend of human intuition and technological innovation that had become their trademark. Their father's old philosophy had become a galactic principle. Kindness is the most advanced technology. The service station had expanded, but it had never lost its soul. The original convenience store remained, now a museum of first contact. Photographs, old tools, the first alien communication devices, all preserved exactly as they were during that first extraordinary day. Visitors would walk through the exhibit, touching old photographs, listening to stories of how a simple family business had changed humanity's understanding of its place in the universe. Children from multiple species would gather, listening to the tale of how connection matters more than technology. Jun-ho remembered the early days, the uncertainty, the excitement, the pure magic of that first encounter. Now, the world had changed. Interstellar travel was common, but the Park family's approach remained unique. Their repair techniques had revolutionized space travel. What the alien visitors had seen as complex problems, the Park saw as puzzles to be solved. Simple human creativity had become the most valuable export from Earth. The original spacecraft that first landed sat in a place of honor, partially repaired, partially preserved, a testament to a moment that changed everything. Visitors would touch its surface, feeling the legacy of that first extraordinary day. Communication had become something more than language. It was about understanding, about finding common ground in the most unexpected places. The Park family had become bridges between worlds, translators of the most important kind of knowledge. Young mechanics would hear the stories, their eyes wide with wonder. How a small service station in the middle of nowhere had become humanity's first true interstellar connection point. How kindness and creativity could be more powerful than any advanced technology. The desert remained unchanged. The same winds, still blue, the same landscape stretched out unchanged. But everything was different. Jun-ho looked at his sister. They didn't need words anymore. They understood each other completely. Two people who had changed the course of human history from a simple family business. As another spacecraft prepared to land, casting its shadow across the familiar landscape, Jun-ho couldn't help but smile. His grandfather would never have believed this was possible. Just another day at the family business. The universe, it turned out, was smaller and more wonderful than anyone had ever imagined.